You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell. Sponsored by Absolute Mortgage, a division of Pinnacle Capital Mortgage Corporation. Now, in the studio, local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, June 25th show. I'm here to help you build a strong financial blueprint 1 week and one show at a time. If you're hearing my show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast. To talk with the guests that I have in studio or to chat with me, you can call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. In studio right now, I have Joe Maassen with Caring Transition of South Puget Sound, Senior Relocation, Downsizing, and Estate Planning, or Estate Sales. I do have estate planning come in studio as well. I'll get a little twisted there. Joe, thank you so much. First time I had a chance to have a conversation with you. Appreciate you coming into studio.
Thank you very much for having me.
And a little bit about Joe, again, with Caring Transition of South Puget Sound. 1.5 years experience as certified relocation and transitional specialist. Retired after 31 years in the military. 27 of those were full-time for the Washington Army National Guard. Thank you for your support there, Joe. And conversation today, again, is around senior relocation, downsizing, estate sales. So if really we have listeners that are seniors that are wanting to transition into another space, or if we had kids that are listening that are helping with their senior parents, and that's what our segment is with you today. So what services does Caring Transition provide for any of my listeners that are not familiar with your company?
As you mentioned, with the relocation, we can assist by doing a space plan, packing up the parents, helping them move, and then all of the things when they move that don't fit in their new space, we can help them liquidate those things through an estate sale or an online auction.
Perfect. And I've had the owner of Caring Transition franchise in here before. First time again I've talked with you, but what made you choose to start with Caring Transition as a franchise?
Well, what appealed to me is I was deployed to Afghanistan in 2012, and about that time my wife and my brother-in-law had to assist her parents or their parents downsizing and moving out of their house that they've been in since, well, for over 20 years. And I wasn't there to help. And so when I was out looking for a career beyond the military, I found Caring Transitions, and I thought, what a great way to help families. And I was able to go, you've spoken with Jennifer Black and Ian Tolney.
Yes.
I had a chance to meet with them to learn more about the franchise, and they were very encouraging. They've been great mentors.
Yeah.
And I decided to take it on.
Awesome. So how did your experience in the military prepare you to provide these services?
I have a lot of experience as an operations officer and in logistics. So project planning, this is perfect. It's taking on projects and doing that backward planning and making sure that the clients are taken care of.
And Joe, what do you like best about owning and operating a Caring Transitions franchise?
The ability to help families. You can walk into a situation where people are overwhelmed, they're absolutely stressed, and to be able to come in and listen to what their needs are and let them know about the best way to move forward to achieve their goals, it's very satisfying.
So with the other providers that are out there, what would you say is different about Caring Transitions?
Well, there may be other services that may provide a portion of the services we do. But if a family comes to us, they don't have to explain their situation to 2 or 3 different companies. They can talk to us, and we can handle the move, we can handle the estate sale, and we can handle the clean out of the property so that we can turn it over to a realtor.
Perfect. And how do my listeners find you?
Normally, they find us on the internet, but we also get quite a few clients from networking with other senior service providers and also from referrals.
Perfect. So you provide services, as I mentioned in the beginning of the show, in South Puget Sound. What if someone needs services in the Seattle or the East Side area?
Well, that's great. If they just contact go to the Caring Transitions website or call the 1-800 number, then they'll be referred to the local office that can provide services. So Jennifer Black's in Seattle, and Michelle Green handles the East Side. And between the franchise owners, we can take care of people.
Perfect. So let's talk about that. How do you guys work together as a company in helping each other?
Well, what's great is we meet at least once a month to talk about how things are going. And then if one of us has a surge and it's beyond our capability to handle, we can talk to one of the other owners to come in and help out.
Awesome. So talking about we're not talking about the housing market, but I got to talk about it because I do mortgages for a living, and the housing market is pretty darn crazy right now. How is it going for you guys?
Absolutely. The peak season. People want to ready their home in order to sell it. And so we're getting a lot of calls where people just need to make the property available. And in order to do that, I met with a client yesterday who just wants the house cleared out. They don't want a sale. They want to get the house on the market, and they're saying just get everything out of the house. And we can do that for them.
Yeah, so I mean, it's important as far as what the company offers. Again, it's, relocating, downsizing, and talk about the estate sale side of it.
Well, we've got a couple of different options for people to maximize the return on what they've got in the home. So once we've determined exactly what's left, make sure that once somebody's moved out of the house, or if they are downsizing or right-sizing, if you will, then we
I like that right sizing.
We want to make sure that any family heirlooms or any property is passed on to family and friends. So once that is taken out of the mix, they can liquidate whatever's left. And we give them a couple of choices on how they can do that. We can do a physical estate sale, if there's a lot of property, or we can do a one-day sale for them, or we can also do an online auction. Online auctions are great because if they've got collections of certain items, we can appeal to a much larger audience. And once again, maximize the return for the client.
Yeah, got it. So if I have a listener that's listening to the show today and thinking about downsizing, maybe in the near future, what advice would you give to them?
Get a free consultation sooner rather than later. The more time that we have to plan, the better we can maximize their return. Sometimes, for example, the client I met yesterday, when they say, I need the house available next week, clear it out, the sale just went off to the side. Oftentimes the sale will pay for our services, but the longer we have, the more options we can give somebody.
So, Joe, when I had not you in studio, but representation from the company, they were talking about the beta with the new auction software. How's that going?
We're still talking about the beta.
Yeah, you are. Well, I own a mortgage software company that I started 7 years ago, and the beta process can go a little while.
It can, but the good news is this: that the system that's in place right now works. So CTOnlineauctions.com is up, it's operating, it's functioning, and if they come out with something better, great. But for right now, we've got a product that works.
Yeah, awesome. What about some downsizing trends? Are you seeing any trends?
Just people anxious to get. Oftentimes, in order to maximize their return, the value isn't necessarily in the property that they want to liquidate. The value is in the home, and so with a hot market, to accelerate that, rather than take their time to try to sell a couple $1,000s worth of property. What they really want to do is accelerate that to get the house on the market and make it up that way.
Makes sense. So what about in every industry, there's pitfalls and, things that really people could have done better the first time around. So if you were looking at mistakes that are happening when it comes to downsizing, relocating, what would the biggest mistake be that you see?
I'm so glad you brought that up. Biggest mistake I see time and again is that people try to do things themselves, and they think they're being helpful by perhaps taking things to donation, and donating things isn't a bad thing. But oftentimes they're donating things that could have paid for our services to help clean out everything else. So they may take something and donate it where they didn't see the value in it, when we could have included it in a sale and made them some money.
Yeah, got it. So a few ways that are different than other estate sales and auction companies. What would those be?
Would be really, going in, meeting with a client and finding out what their needs are. What is their timeline? How can we maximize the results for them? So is it that full-on estate sale? Or in some cases, if the value isn't there after they've downsized and taken a lot of their valuable things with them, then perhaps what we'll recommend is a furniture buyer to come in, get them to make them an offer on the property that's there, and then we go right to the clean out so they can turn it over for sale.
Got it. Now, my listeners always love stories. We all enjoy listening to stories. So what's a recent success story, Joe, that you can share with my listeners?
Had a call a couple of weeks ago. A man's mother passed away, and he said she had wall-to-wall antiques. And it was no lie. I walked into this house, and it was just phenomenal. So it took us about 10 days to get everything photographed. We've got it on an auction right now on our website. And they have to be out of the house by the end of the month, and we're going to help them do that. Wow. And it's kind of neat.
Pretty amazing things. Now, if I'm also, I may have somebody listening just thinking, I can do this on my own, and, why hire an expert to do it? How would you answer that?
Well, we've got the experience. And so if they have the time to do those things themselves, fantastic. But oftentimes people don't, and it's easy to get overwhelmed. They'll walk into a room to process it, if you will. And it's like every item that they touch evokes a memory, and it just slows down, and it becomes overwhelming, and they get really stressed out. So if someone can do it on their own, fantastic. Yeah. But oftentimes people need help, and we're there.
Well, and I think you heard it right there too, is well with the emotional, being able to release the emotional stress attached to relocating, downsizing your home. I mean, it is. And if you can bring in the expert in, it has no emotional connection to anything and can really come in from a sound position to help give you the best advice on what to do.
Right. Yeah. And although no connection, a lot of understanding. I mean, we understand what they're going through, and we understand it's a process, and it's just a matter of slowing down and working with them to go at their pace. To achieve their goal.
So I know everybody's situation is going to be completely different, Joe, obviously. But, on an average, what type of time frame should someone be looking at when they'd actually pick up the call or pick up the phone and ask for your services?
Well, as I mentioned, it's kind of the peak season. Everybody wants to take care of their stuff. Spring and summer is absolutely huge. So the more notice we can get, fantastic. Normally we 3 weeks would be wonderful.
Okay, well, that's a lot shorter than what I would think. That doesn't sound too bad.
Well, at this point, I'd be grateful for 3 weeks. The calls that we're getting now are kind of panicked. So I got a call on the 22nd, and they want the house cleaned out. They need it done. They'd like it done by the end of the month. And, with our dealing with our peak season right now, just a little challenging. But I hire a lot of retired military guys, retired school teachers. There are a lot of students available for me to hire right now. So I can work up a crew to take care of people. Yeah,
and my advice on the show is to hire an expert. It's also not to procrastinate. I mean, it's norm for the majority is procrastination, and that's what adds the stress. It ends up costing more money. A lot of times you make the wrong decisions being in a stressful situation. So just a shout out that to give time to make sure that you're making the right decisions. And again, Joe, you said you guys do a free consultation to see if it's the right, I want to say the right move, the right decision in hiring your company to help with the relocation downsizing process.
It is, and it's important to call the right company and ask the right questions. Are they certified? Insured, bonded? And are the people trained? Do they provide a background check on their employees? Those are things that we do.
So, Joe, I've got about a minute, and I need to take us to commercial. Last advice that you want to give to my listeners before our time's up here?
Can't say it enough. Be as proactive as possible and call in, and you'll just maximize your options. You can call anytime. You'll just have more options with more time.
Wonderful. Joe, thanks so much for coming into the studio. It was great having a chat with you.
Thanks for having me.
Coming up next in the Money Hour, do you want to stay in your home that you've lived in for years? Do you want to live in your resident of choice? Then you need to start preparing. Aaron Murphy, owner of ADM Architecture, booming your bottom line right here at 1150 AM KKNW after this short break.